Now on Fox 13 News at 9, bullets fly in Salt Lake City's Sugar House neighborhood, and tonight U.S. Marshals have a suspect in custody. We're live from the scene.
Plus, we are hours from Election Day, and both candidates for president are making their final pitches to voters. What you should and should not do as you cast your ballot.
And another storm moves in tonight. For some people, they're going to see snow. Who sees the flakes fly? I'll let you know.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
One person is in the hospital and in custody after an officer-involved shooting in Sugar House this evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. That shooting involving members of the U.S. Marshals Service. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with one man who was at work in the area when this all took place. Chris joins us live near Elm Avenue and Lincoln Street in Sugar House. Chris.
Well, Kelly and Bob, Lincoln Street here behind me is still blocked off at this moment as police are still working to investigate what all took place in this incident. Now, what we know right now is that the Salt Lake City Police Department is investigating this incident at the request of the U.S. Marshals Service. Just before 4:30 p.m., members of the U.S. Marshals Task Force requested Salt Lake PD officers respond to the area of Elm Avenue and Lincoln Street. Now, when officers arrived, they learned the Marshals Service had been involved in an officer-involved critical incident near 2150 South Lincoln Street. Fox 13 News spoke with Francisco Rodriguez, a manager at Burt Brothers nearby. He told us a man came to the store looking for his ex-wife, who works at that location, before Rodriguez says the man was told to leave several times. Rodriguez says that man left after being followed by several unmarked cars, attempting to go through the Smith's parking lot and eventually hitting a light pole.
It looked like they threw some kind of a shock bomb or something under the car, started shooting. I heard a bunch of shots, at least 15 to 20 shots, and then a bunch of smoke and yelling. I've never seen anything like this intense happen with this many people in public, out walking around and stuff. So it was pretty crazy. And I think they did a great job on containing it and keeping everybody safe.
Well, Rodriguez tells me this incident played out in just the span of about 5 or 10 minutes. The suspect was taken into custody and to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. There were no other injuries reported in this incident. Now, the identity of that suspect has not been released at this time. I have been reaching out to the U.S. Marshals Service for more information, but have not heard back yet. Now, as for what is going to happen moving forward, once this investigation is complete, the Salt Lake City Police Department will refer the case to the District Attorney's Office. For now, live here in Sugar House, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Tonight on the path to the White House, Vice President Kamala Harris went all in on Pennsylvania today, while former President Donald Trump held rallies across 3 swing states in the final day before the election.
Scripps News anchor Maritza Gorgio shows us their final pitch to voters.
On the final day before the election, both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump had packed itineraries with multiple rallies in pivotal battleground states. Trump kicked off the morning in Raleigh, North Carolina, a state he won in both 2016 and 2020. During a rally there, Trump predicted his own victory.
They have an expression, I hate the expression actually, but it's ours to lose. Does that make sense to you? It's ours to lose. If we get everybody out and vote, there's not a thing they can do.
Vice President Kamala Harris focused on Pennsylvania with 5 stops across the Keystone State. In Scranton, Harris projected a more positive tone.
We are leaders who understand that the measure of our strength is not based on who we beat down, it's based on who we lift up. Right?
Later, Harris and Trump held events in Reading and Allentown, followed by dueling rallies in Pittsburgh. Harris closed out the final day of the campaign with a rally in Philadelphia featuring Oprah Winfrey and Lady Gaga. And Trump ended his run in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the same place where he held his final rallies in the 2016 and 2020 races. A record-breaking 78 million votes have already been cast. That's according to the election lab at the University of Florida. In-person early voting has already surpassed 2020 numbers. Maritza Giorgio, Scripps News.
Now, for those who have not yet voted, election officials are expecting some lines tomorrow.
But there are some things you can do to speed up the process. Fox 13 News reporter Avery Klanowski has some of the do's and don'ts.
With the presidential election, millions of Americans will be heading to the polls on November 5th.
The best way to have your voice count really is to vote. Yeah, those who don't show up, decisions are made by others.
If you're casting your ballot in person, do not forget your IDs.
Bring a form of identification with you and a proof of residence, because you will be asked for that.
The Davis County Clerk Brian McKenzie says arrive with plenty of time and patience.
So you might have to wait in line for a little while. Be prepared for that. If you want to avoid a line, you can do that as well. If you have your by-mail ballot, that's kind of your fast pass. You do not need to wait in a line if you're just depositing your by-mail ballot. Make sure it's sealed up in that return envelope.
He says do not wear campaign-related gear.
One of the things that we always have to watch for is when folks show up wearing campaign materials, hats, buttons, shirts, things like that. We love to see people supporting their candidates, but at the polling location, the only way that you should support your candidate is when you mark their name on your ballot.
League of Women Voters Utah says educate yourself before you arrive.
Find the location that is closest to you. There is also a place to find out what's on your ballot.
While selfies with your ballots are legal in the Beehive State,
be respectful of other voters that are around. They may not want to be in your picture. They may not want to be in your video. They may not want to hear what you're posting on your social media.
Asking voters not to delay, get your ballots in.
At this point, it is too late to mail it. Do not mail it. Please, please, please return it in a drop box at this point.
Do your research, remember your correct IDs, be respectful to poll workers and other voters. In Saratoga Springs, Avery Klanowski, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We want to know, how are you voting in this election? By mail, dropping it off at a ballot box in person, or maybe this year you're not voting?
We want you to take part in our non-scientific poll. Just scan the QR code to weigh in. It'll take you to fox13now.com/voice. The results of our non-scientific poll are updated in real time. So, how are you exercising your right to vote? By mail?
Got a few people chiming in there.
Remember, this is real time that we're seeing this, and we don't know how many people have actually voted, but right now the one person
it was a fresh question, so nobody had voted until you asked. So
right, yeah.
There you go. We'll check in on this again a little bit later in the hour. You know, right now you could definitely feel a chill in the air this Monday night. Take a look at this. Brighton Ski Resort getting ready for more powder days. They want more of this. They don't mind shoveling and plowing.
That's their job.
That's Snowcat there running, which means the season is getting closer.
And closer and closer.
How much more snow can Brighton and the other resorts expect over the next few days, Brett?
Well, we do have a storm on our doorstep. It will be bringing snow to some of the mountains of northern Utah. And yes, the ski resort's another fresh layer where that's what we're expecting here. As I share a photo coming up on our Facebook page, this is from Michael in Springville. Kind of a collision of seasons there where you've got the white mixed in with the fall colors. It wasn't a big layer that we got over the weekend, but a fresh, shallow layer. And that's what we're expecting with this next storm. It's not going to be a big snow producer, but it'll be adding up in the mountains. But what about the valleys? Of course, yesterday, early morning, we got our first official snowfall in Salt Lake City. It was just a trace. Today, though, we had the sunshine, but very cold temperatures. Looking at the highs here across the state, many locations well below average as we topped off in the upper 40s here across the Wasatch Front. Low 40s, though, with the official high in Logan. We did get up to 38 degrees in Evanston, with low 50s for the high in Moab. 60 degrees, though, in St. George. Right now, upper 30s in Logan. 40s here from Salt Lake City through Ogden, 34 currently in Provo. So temperatures, of course, dropping as they will continue to drop with a cold front that's going to be pushing through. Now the flow for many locations turning out of the northwest here as we look over towards Elko and Ely. Here across central Utah, though, out of the south ahead of our next cold front. And we're seeing signs of this next cold front making its move, bringing some clouds initially. We look just barely upstream from Twin Falls to Pocatello, a mixture of some rain and snow. You're seeing the blue, though. That is snow, and that's what's going to be pushing in here over the next 12 hours. We don't see the snow starting here once we get past midnight, though. Tomorrow morning for your morning commute, though, what are we expecting? And again, for the valleys, how much snow is going to be piling up? I'll let you know coming up in just a bit.
Draper police need your help tonight to find 4 suspects in the vandalism case you're seeing on your screen.
It happened Saturday at about 3 a.m. near 300 East and 134th South. You can see the 3 suspects smash into a vinyl fence.
It appears that one of the juveniles is recording this particular incident. However, based on the history at this home and at this residence, it doesn't appear that we do not believe that this was an isolated incident.
If you have any information that can help investigators, or if you recognize any of these 3 suspects, call Draper Police. The department is offering a small reward for tips leading to any arrest. A Vernal teen is in the ICU tonight after being trapped under a car in a school parking lot this morning.
Vernal police say 2 16-year-olds were riding on the hood of a car at Terra Academy Charter School when they slipped off. Police say an 18-year-old student was driving. First responders and bystanders lifted the car off the teen, who was stuck underneath. We're told the case is now under investigation and will be reviewed for charges. Counselors were brought to campus to provide support to staff and students.
The Provo OBGYN accused of sexually assaulting patients was in court today. Dozens of women have filed a civil lawsuit against Dr. David Broadbent. Today was the preliminary hearing for the criminal case against him for a single count of forcible sexual abuse in Utah County.
At the end of the day, justice looks like Dr. Broadbent serving prison time for what he did to over 200 women.
Broadbent's next court appearance will be on Tuesday, November 26th, to finish the preliminary hearing.
A Cedar City family is expressing gratitude to 2 paramedics tonight after they saved their father's life, even though they were off duty. Last week, 77-year-old Marco Pilenses collapsed in the parking lot of the Cedar City Smiths while loading his groceries into his car. He suffered cardiac arrest. His daughter says she is forever grateful for the 2 EMTs who gave her father a new lease on life.
I mean, they saved my dad's life, and because of them, he's still here. The doctor, the cardiologist, told us that if he had not received CPR right away like he did, he would have suffered probably brain damage.
Wow. Pizantes was released from St. George Regional Hospital this afternoon. Now his family is concerned about the mounting medical bills. They are trying to raise some money online for his recovery.
A special delivery, all thanks to a social media post. I'll show you how the West Valley City Animal Services is getting some much needed help.
An aide to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been arrested for allegedly leaking classified information about hostage negotiations. Netanyahu has denied any involvement in the leak, which appears to have been designed to sway Israeli public opinion in favor of the Prime Minister's hardline stance in ceasefire talks.
More than 7 weeks after going on strike, Boeing workers are voting whether to accept a new contract offer and head back to work. The latest offer includes a 38% wage increase over the span of 4 years. That is up 3% from a proposal rejected by workers just a couple of weeks ago. The president of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers District 751 has endorsed the new deal. However, a major sticking point for weeks has been the demand by workers for Boeing to restore a traditional pension plan it took away decades ago. His name was synonymous with the music industry. Quincy Jones played such a huge role in modern music. His impact could not be overstated.
The larger-than-life music figure passed away last night at his home in Los Angeles. He was 91. Among the incredible artists he worked with were Nat King Cole, Aretha Franklin, Frank Sinatra, Paul Simon, Barbra Streisand, and Michael Jackson. I reached out to Kurt Bester this evening, whose biggest musical influences have been John Williams and Quincy Jones. Would Michael Jackson have been Michael Jackson without Quincy Jones?
Well, he wouldn't be the Michael Jackson that we know and love musically. Michael was great with his brothers, did some nice albums, but it was when Quincy Jones heard him and he wrote a song. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. What was that mellow song that he wrote? You know which one I'm talking about?
Out of My Life.
Out of My Life. That was supposedly going to be sung by Frank Sinatra, because Quincy Jones was working with Frank Sinatra, and he took that song, which Frank was going to sing, and gave it to Michael Jackson. And after that, Michael Jackson asked him to produce, and the next thing you know, we have Thriller, and the rest is history.
The list of his many honors fills 21 pages. Among them, he won 28 Grammys, 2 honorary Academy Awards, and an Emmy for Roots. Quincy Jones, dead at 91.
Chilly day in Utah. We saw some sunshine though, Breck, before the next wave of storms fast approaching.
Just a quick break from the storms. Yeah, another one right on our doorstep. It's going to bring snow once again here, particularly across northern and central Utah, but feeling the chill, feeling more like winter as we show you the official high today in Salt Lake City. 48 degrees. We started off in the low 30s, so temperatures well below average both for the morning low and the afternoon high. And we're not going to be letting go of the 40s anytime soon. That's where we find ourselves right now, though, in Ogden at least. 43 currently, Salt Lake City, upper 30s, Provo at 34 degrees. It's going to be another chilly night. We're starting to bring in some clouds, though, getting pushed in with our next storm system where really it's near the Utah-Idaho border. So as it's going to move in, it's kind of a weak storm. It'll bring some cold temperatures and some light snow showers. We're not expecting to see much in accumulation, especially for the valleys. Mountains, maybe just a few inches. Minimal accumulation a little bit further south, though. We're going to be looking at some breezy conditions, particularly as we look initially with that front moving in and then positioning itself where across southwestern Utah, like Washington County, I've got a couple of days of some canyon winds. Staying cold, though, until the weekend. That's when we're going to see a weekend warm up. Now, with this storm system, with the expected snow, as it's not going to be much, no winter weather advisory in place, even for the mountains. You can see across extreme southeastern Idaho, it's a little different story. How much snow are we talking about? For most locations, at least as we look over the mountains and the Wasatch back, 1 to 3 inches. Beaver Mountain could squeeze out a little bit more. It's really across extreme northern Utah and then focusing across central Utah that we see a little bit more accumulation, even for the valley locations. Not being produced or not being produced much right now, though, with this cold front. You can see right now as it's tracking through, we've got showers in Twin Falls over towards Pocatello, moving further south there. This is going to be pushing in just at the morning commute. But again, it's not going to be producing a lot. We will see some flakes flying. There's the position at the front. You can see by 8 a.m. it's moving through the central Wasatch Front. You're seeing some mountain showers again through Logan Canyon. It kind of gets a little bit of a resurgence, though, once it hits Utah County southward. So once it hits Spanish Fork into Payson and then tracking over towards Nephi and then further there, we're going to be seeing a better chance of accumulating snow between Nephi down through Fillmore. So traveling along I-15 and some of those higher elevation passes definitely could see some slushy roads. And again, we'll hold on to a chance of mainly some mountain snow, though, moving through the day. But again, you'll see some flakes flying for the valleys, kind of more flurries than that. As the storm moves further south, then we start to see that low pressure really developing and then wraparound moisture, which will keep snow showers going across eastern, south central, and southeastern Utah, kind of the southeastern quadrant as we head into Wednesday and potentially into Thursday as well. But for the rest of the state, you're drying out. You've got the cold temperatures, but you're seeing a lot more sunshine and a slow warm up as we head towards the weekend. So your forecast tomorrow, you'll notice it's mainly cloudy conditions, temperatures in the upper 30s and 40s. There'll be moments of light snow. Again, shouldn't pose too much of a problem if you're heading to the polls there, but you again could see maybe a little bit of a damp there on the road, as that's not going to be much of an issue. You could maybe see through some of the canyon areas a little bit of slushy conditions, but again, not a big concern. Tonight's though, temperatures overnight will be very chilly. Many spots in the 30s. Tomorrow, it's going to be even colder. It looks like low to mid 40s here along the Wasatch Front, with a few locations across southern Utah in the 50s. St. George at 60s, down into the 50s, staying there until the weekend. A little bit of a warm up. It looks like it'll be dry and looks to be fine for the election day tomorrow. That light snow, maybe a mixture of rain and snow here and there. Then we're clearing out for the Wasatch Front. We'll get into the 50s for the weekend, and then another storm bringing some rain showers next week, Monday. We're back after the break.
Welcome back, everyone. Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes has announced a settlement with Kroger to the tune of nearly $1.4 billion. It was 2 years ago Reyes and other state attorneys general sued the grocery store company, which operates Smith's Food and Drug here in Utah. The lawsuit alleged Kroger was the largest buyer and distributor of opioid drugs. From 2006 to 2014, further claiming the company incentivized and awarded pharmacists for filling the prescriptions. Utah is expected to receive $45 million from the settlement.
Customers who rely on natural gas may notice a smaller bill starting this month. Enbridge Gas says the Public Service Commission approved gas rate decreases for customers in Utah and Idaho. So starting this month, residential customers will see a nearly 2% drop in their gas rates. That's a savings of $12.57 a year.
It's the day before the election. Candidates are out campaigning. What two leading U.S. Senate candidates have to say about election denialism.
We are now less than 12 hours away from the polls opening here in Utah.
On the national front, both presidential candidates are sticking to the battleground states today, which could determine who wins the election. Vice President Kamala Harris is focusing on Pennsylvania, which has the most electoral college votes of the 7 critical swing states. Former President Donald Trump is making stops in 3 states today, including North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Both former President Trump and Vice President Harris have made contrasting closing arguments about what's at stake in this election, but they both agree it's an important one.
America is ready for a fresh start, ready for a new way forward, where we see our fellow American not as an enemy, but as a neighbor.
Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? With your vote tomorrow, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country.
Well, it was over the weekend. Vice President Harris made an appearance on Saturday Night Live as part of her campaigning. NBC then aired a message from former President Trump during a Sunday broadcast of a NASCAR race and an NFL game after an FCC complaint about equal airtime.
I'm Ben Winslow in Cottonwood Heights. As people drop off their ballots and candidates make their last-minute pitches, 2 of the leading candidates for U.S. Senate are promising to accept the results of the election, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. Great. Good luck with everything.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Caroline Gleich is knocking on doors in the final hours of her campaign, vying for the open seat to replace retiring Senator Mitt Romney.
We're already a lot more purple than we seem. And it really just depends on who shows up. So young people, you know, unlikely voters, please.
She's in the race against Republican Congressman John Curtis. In a recent op-ed, Curtis pledged to accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins.
I was serving in the House, and I certified the election, and I very quickly congratulated President Biden. Who obviously was not my choice, but that's who the voters chose, and I was ready to go to work to do what we need to do in this country.
He says Utahns can have confidence in their elections.
I have no doubt when I mail in my ballot that my vote will be counted appropriately and correctly. And I would like everybody else to have that same reassurance, and I think they can get it.
His Democratic opponent agrees.
I will absolutely accept the results of the election. And here in Utah, we have universal vote by mail. It's one of the safest and most secure voting methods. I'd also like to add, I mean, that is his job. It is the bare minimum. And it's a little bit sad to me that we're in this state of politics where we're celebrating Republicans for doing the bare minimum.
Now, an important reminder, it may be some time before we know all the results, particularly of some close races. So this could stretch beyond Election Day. Now, the Lieutenant Governor has instructed all county clerks to not release results so long as people are in line at in-person polling locations on election night, so that everybody gets a chance to vote. In Cottonwood Heights, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
With the intensity of this election, officials are preparing to amp up security and aid for emergency services.
The Pentagon spoke to reporters today about that.
Tomorrow is Election Day, and DoD stands prepared to support state and local authorities as required. Of note, Secretary Austin approved a request last week from the District of Columbia for D.C. National Guard troops to support the D.C. Fire and Emergency Medical Services from November 5 through 13.
The FBI has established an election command post in Washington, D.C. to monitor and respond to election-related threats leading up to and after the election in coordination with state, local, and federal partners. The office is staffed by 80 people, each shift across a dozen agencies, and will run 24 hours a day every day this week as election results come in.
In Washington, D.C., officials are preparing for unrest regardless of who wins the election. Fencing is being reinforced outside the White House and Vice President Harris's private residence. Some downtown businesses have also boarded up their windows, and security measures are in place at Howard University, where Vice President Harris plans to hold her election watch party.
One of those, back here in Utah, the FBI field office told us today, quote, while we are not aware of any local threats related to the elections in Utah, FBI Salt Lake City is working closely with our federal, state, and local partners to identify and stop any potential threats to public safety. The FBI goes on to say, we encourage members of the public to remain vigilant and immediately report any suspicious activity to law enforcement.
Getting that ballot in the official ballot drop box or wherever else you can drop them off. They have to be postmarked by today. I'm Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay, talking to the county clerk here in Sanpete County, where they had the lowest early voting numbers in the state, but she says that's not the whole story. Stay tuned for the full scoop. Get out there and vote. That's the message from the Sanpete County Clerk, Linda Christiansen. Hello, I'm Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay in Gunnison, actually at an official ballot drop box, putting my own ballot in the box to get that vote counted. And it's so important to do. Take a look. Lieutenant Governor just turned in her numbers, and Sanpete County came up as the lowest as far as voter turnout. But you say that might not necessarily tell the real story.
It doesn't tell the real story. A ballot in the system for tracking your ballot does not register until you scan that barcode and then you verify the signature.
Sanpete County Clerk Linda Christiansen says those early numbers Monday morning showing Sanpete County at 35% will go way up by Monday night.
We only have 6 of us that are full-time signature verifiers. And the problem is 4 of my staff members are certified, but we had nonstop in-person voting all last week.
But today, as she's showing me in this Zoom interview, her ballot counters are busy with the task at hand.
They are counting and batching. This is some that they just picked up from the big boxes, the outside boxes.
Giving us a tour inside where the ballot counting is taking place.
So I've converted the commission room into an election processing room. So we keep all of our ballots in locked cages. My tabulation room is behind this locked glass door. So people can observe. They can observe, but they can't be in our space when we're tabulating.
And the county clerk says you still have time to get your ballot in if you still have one like me. She says run to the post office and make sure you watch them postmark. It has to be done by today, or go to an official ballot drop box. Just put it in.
Linda says Utah has a strict process when it comes to its elections and ballot counting statewide, adding it's one you can trust.
Sanpete County had a complete remodel of the clerk's office when I came in. We have all glass windows around my office. We have cameras in all of the processing areas. We are as transparent as you can get.
She says Monday's numbers are disappointing since Sanpete County has a history of turning out to vote in a big way.
I looked at the numbers for 2020 and Sanpete was 92%.
Believing they'll get closer to meeting their mark by tomorrow, Election Day.
I just barely had poll workers go out and collect from our big boxes, which is Gunnison, Mount Pleasant, Ephraim, and Manti. We're right at the moment counting them. So we'll know more how many were turned in over the weekend, see if maybe we can hit that 60% at the end of day today.
Reporting in Sanpete County, Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Okay, now it's time to check in on tonight's poll. that asks the question, how are you voting?
So we just posed that to you about 25 minutes ago. We're asking, do you vote by mail, dropping your ballot off at an official ballot box? Do you go in person, or do you not vote at all? You can scan that QR code on your screen right now to weigh in. Right now, 57% of you say you go to the ballot box. 29% say by mail.
Well, how do you like that? And only 8% say they vote in person. 6% say they don't plan to vote at all. Hopefully they'll change their mind.
Interesting. I would have guessed by mail to be a little bit
Would
higher
you?
at this point, but yeah. Whatever works for you.
That's right.
Do it that way. That's what's important. Hey, Breck.
Well, if you have to drive to the ballot box tomorrow, some concerns with an approaching storm system as we share a photo coming up on our Facebook page with some fresh snow up at Mirror Lake. We're expecting more snow. How much? I'll let you know after the break.
The rivalry game between BYU and Utah this week. We'll hear from the players on what this game means to them. And the Jazz were without Lauri Markkanen in Chicago tonight, but could they get their first win of the season without him? The highlights are on the way.
Hey, Max Roth here. Here at Fox 13, we do have Election Day planned out with all hands on deck from early in the morning. At 7 a.m., voting centers will open around Utah. Anytime from then until 8 p.m., you can cast a ballot at a location near you. Now, starting on Good Day Utah and throughout the day, Fox 13 reporters will be at county clerks' offices, voting centers, and will be responding to any breaking news. We will be on the air as swing state polls close. Georgia will be the first big one. Polls close there at 5 o'clock our time. Our nonpartisan election professionals at Decision Desk headquarters will start projecting winning candidates where the outcome is clear according to their predetermined and rigorous mathematical standards. Our reporters will be deployed with candidates and election officials through the evening, and I personally will anchor coverage on Fox13Now.com and our other digital platforms starting around 7:45. When polls close at 8, we'll be there to share every bit of information we get from Utah elections. We'll have our reporters on location to chime in, and we'll have expert analysis in studio from Mary Weaver Bennett, the director of the Levitt Center for Politics and Public Service at Southern Utah University. Those results will keep coming as our Utah-centered coverage continues at 9 p.m. on Fox 13 News at 9. Jason Perry from the Hinckley Institute of Politics at the University of Utah will join us. Many of Utah's biggest races will be called early, but we may need to wait a while for the governor's race because Phil Lyman's write-in campaign will require some hand counting. That could also delay some other counting, and the lieutenant governor is not going to release any results until there are no more voters in line anywhere in Utah. In studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
West Valley Animal Services got a special delivery today thanks to a social media post.
And a pretty popular dog. Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gooby introduces us to Scout and his mom behind the effort that is positively Utah.
Okay, Scout, come. This is Scout, a golden retriever who's almost 7 years old. He and his mom, Brandy, run an Instagram account called Dog Friendly SLC.
I couldn't find accurate information about where I could take my dog to eat on a patio. So I figured if I had that question, other people probably did too.
And now they're channeling their social media influence to help other furry friends. Like these dogs and cats at West Valley City Animal Services. The shelter is bursting at its seams with over 200 animals, so they need help with food and supplies. So Brandy stepped up.
When people think about dog rescues, the automatic assumption is that if I want to help, I need to adopt a pet. And some people just aren't in the position to be able to do that. And there are other ways that you can help.
She put out a call to the community with this post.
Would you consider donating $7 for Scout's upcoming 7th birthday to help? You can Venmo Dog Friendly SLC. Imagine how much good our community can do.
And from there, the good came in troves.
I thought we'd raise $1,000.
And how much did you end up raising?
Altogether, with what was sent to us and what was sent to them, almost $16,000.
$1 at a time.
Over 500 people donating, mostly small donations, $7, $5, $10. And it's just been such a fun exercise in, how small gifts really make a big impact.
Christmas came early at the shelter. They had a surprise delivery on Monday because people didn't just donate money, but bought stuff for animal services from their Amazon wish list.
It's really been a tide-turning moment of hope, I think, for them to know that so many people care and that food is not something that they need to worry about for the foreseeable future.
Helping more animals on their way to finding their forever homes.
Feels a little surreal, to be honest.
Now, Monday's deliveries were just the tip of the iceberg. The animal shelter says they're excited for all the donations yet to come and are very thankful for the community's help. In West Valley City, I am Maithili Gobi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
That's a cute pooch, man.
Almost $16,000.
That's
Holy
awesome.
cow.
Now, a tug at the heartstrings when you see those dogs and those pins.
The power we have together. Right? I mean, $7 at a time?
Yes, that's exactly right. A lot of people donating, and what a great cause.
Kelly, you're trying to get me to adopt, aren't you?
I was just saying, Breck has 4 boys. They seem like such a
and
dog
no
family.
I
dog?
know.
It's a great Christmas gift, Breck. Do you want
There's
a
your
dog
suggestion.
out there?
Okay, I'll put that on the list.
When you're out there shoveling this winter, you can have a dog running around.
I need a companion.
The honey don't
for sure. Well, you might need a companion as we're going to see some snow, but it's not enough that we'll have to be doing some shoveling tomorrow. We're just expecting to see a few flurries, some light snow here for the valleys, but we could wake up with a little bit of snow, especially across extreme northern Utah. It's cold enough to snow. Boy, today temperatures not making our way out of the 40s. That's where we find ourselves right now in Salt Lake City, though, as you can see in Provo at 34 degrees, where, yes, on Sunday morning early, we got our official first snowfall in Salt Lake City. It was only a trace at the airports. Now, yes, we have seen snow falling in other locations, but again, making that official here, where as we look ahead with this next storm, it's right on our doorstep. It's going to produce more as we look up in Cache Valley, particularly Logan Canyon, so Beaver Mountain, potentially getting upwards of 3 to 6 inches of snow. Most other mountain locations, not that much, 1 to 3 inches. You can see that very light blue, that's less than an inch, really leaning towards maybe a trace for many spots here, as we'll see some snow on the grassy surfaces, maybe getting a resurgence of some more snow expected for central Utah as this low pressure system dipping down. It's bringing the cold air. Doesn't have a lot of moisture associated with it until it digs further southward, where it starts rotating and really spinning and producing some wraparound moisture across south central and southeastern Utah as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. But really, it's kind of a quick hit here across the north. We're seeing signs of the front right now. As you can see, those light showers as we track through southern Idaho over towards Pocatello. That's what's on the move. Initially, of course, hitting extreme northern Utah in the overnight hours, then pushing through the Wasatch Front just in time for the morning commute. But again, it's just some light snow flurries there. It might provide for roads to be a little bit wet, but not concerned with any slushy conditions, except as it does move further southward. Southern end of Utah County down through Cedar City throughout the afternoon. We definitely could be looking at some areas, especially over those higher elevation passes, that we could see that snow sticking to the roads. But tonight, mostly cloudy skies, a flurry or two there. As we look for tomorrow morning, we'll be finding temperatures in the mid-30s. I want to show you up in Logan, though, getting ready for Election Day. If you get an early start, no issues. There'll be some light snow as we look from 10 o'clock until noon, and then you're good to go as we look into the late afternoon hours. But for most spots here across northern Utah, heading to the ballot box shouldn't be a concern, and especially across southern Utah, it doesn't look like you'll have any issues whatsoever. But late afternoon, again, between Fillmore and Cedar City, that's where we could maybe see more snow. So if you're looking at those areas, get your job done, heading to those ballot boxes throughout the morning hours. Partly cloudy skies across southern Utah, where you've got 60s and then 50s and some winds Wednesday and Thursday. Then you're warming back up in the 60s for the weekend. Northern Utah with that brief snow showers, again, very light. We're clearing out as we'll be looking at temperatures remaining in the 40s until the weekend, back into the 50s. Next storm doesn't hit until next week, Monday, and it looks to bring a chance of rain.
It's rivalry week. Utah and BYU will play this Saturday night at Rice Eccles Stadium as conference opponents for the first time since 2010. For the first time in a while, Utah's not the favorite. The Utes have lost 4 games in a row, while BYU is rolling. The Cougars are undefeated at 8-0 and ranked 9th in the country. The players on both sides know how big this game is.
He was the first serious phone call I had about the rivalry. He was the first guy that was like, okay, what does this mean? Like, what am I going to expect? What does this mean? And obviously he's had some his memorable, heroic moments in the rivalry. Obviously the touchdown pass to win the game is the first thing that comes to mind. Talking to him about it, he's been able to just relay the message yeah, this is super important. And then I've talked to Arrow a little bit hey, you're quarterback that wins this game, you go down in history and you'll always be remembered fondly by the BYU fans if you go beat the Utes. And so we're excited for this game. We're excited for the next opportunity. We're going to be prepared come Saturday night, and we're excited for the opportunity to play in this great rivalry.
Man, it means a lot. I mean, when you think about the rivalry and all the years that we won in a row and stuff like that, and you come in, first year I'm actually playing and we actually lose one, it hurts. That I'm a part of that team that actually lost that game, and so it means a lot to me. I don't want to feel like that ever again. I want to be on the side of the record where we're winning. We're not in the loss column, so that's how I feel.
Lauri Markkanen missed his 3rd game for the Jazz as they played in Chicago tonight. After losing their first 6 games of the season, Jazz came to play. John Collins, the poster gem, elevates and rocks the rim. He had 28 points, 13 rebounds. 3rd quarter, Keontae George with the steal. Rockets ahead and hammers it home. He had 33 points and 9 assists. Jazz up by 7. Then in the 4th, the alley-oop goes to Collins. He throws it down. The Jazz were up by 9. Colin Sexton had a big game, pulls up, drains 3 of his 24 points. He was feeling it after that. The Jazz were up by 11 with just over 2 minutes to play. Would this be the game they win? Then the dagger, George with another 3-ball. There you go. The Jazz won at 135-126 for their first win of the season. It was the season opener for the running Utes against Alcorn State. A lot of new faces at Utah. Ezra Azur is one of them. The jam there, he had 13 points. Here's one of the familiar faces on Utah's team, Gabe Madsen from long range. It's good. He led the team with 27 points. After a slowish start to the game, the Utes rolled to a 159 win to start the season. So they're off and running. BYU plays their first game tomorrow.
Nice.
And how about the Jazz?
All those highlights, dunk after dunk after dunk.
Wow, that was so good.
Good game in Chicago.
So fun to see those slam dunks. I just think they should be worth more than 2 points.
Yeah, they're so much fun to watch.
Give him a 9.8.
Thanks for the good news.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll be right back.
You should have heard what we were talking about NIL in the break.
The rivalry game?
Oh, man.
It's all the talk.
No, yeah, but you're not going to hear it.
I wish I was a 20-year-old quarterback.
Yeah, me too.
A good one.
Some guys have all the luck.
Yeah.
Quick Cast is next.